Chapter 1. The City of Unfettered Deals. Corey always found solace in the chaos of Fallen Comet, officially designated as Skarn 745. This hollowed-out mass of rock drifted at the edge of a half-forgotten star system. Over time, it had transformed into a makeshift metropolis of corrugated metal, neon signage, and black market exchange, colloquially known as Fallen Comet, because it felt like a star that had plummeted and now glowed from within, a testament to the thriving underworld it housed. Here, everything was for sale. Exotic creatures, advanced weaponry, and stolen starship tech changed hands beneath the ever-buzzing neon. No official laws existed in this place. Various gangs, syndicates, and outcasts had carved out turf, creating a dynamic equilibrium of fear and opportunity. Street corners bristled with the tang of ozone from illicit energy rifles, while alleyways were thick with the aroma of sizzling street food. It was a city of half-lit corridors, raucous gambling dens, and private enclaves for whispered deals. And Corey liked it that way. He was hardly more than 30 standard years old, with short ash-brown hair perpetually falling into his eyes and a grin that could melt hearts, or raise suspicions, depending on how he wielded it. Corey specialized in arranging transactions. He was not a major crime lord, merely an intermediary, a facilitator who orchestrated deals between shady suppliers and paranoid buyers. If he had any moral code, it existed somewhere in the margins of his mind, overshadowed by the daily hustle for profit. Yet a sliver of conscience remained. Once in a while, he found himself stepping in to protect an innocent child from falling into a slave ring, or ensuring a gullible off-worlder wasn't robbed blind at the gambling tables. But he never let empathy overshadow business. At least, that's what he told himself. He was lounging outside a rusted dive bar, the metallic platform beneath him vibrating with the pulse of distant generators. This bar perched on a ledge overlooking the Comet's main concourse. Lights from passing hoverbikes streaked like comets themselves, leaving tails of color in their wake. The sharp hum of neon tubes overhead blended with the distant cacophony of music and rowdy voices. A small voice pinged in the comm earpiece hidden beneath his collar. "Corey, they're asking for you at Bay 27. He recognized the voice as Tashi, a local urchin he sometimes hired to keep tabs. "Now, of all times?" "Buyer arrived early. Heard you've got that star map they're after." Corey exhaled, setting aside his half-finished drink. The star map was a stolen piece of Federation surveying intel, charting hidden resource pockets in unclaimed territory. Usually he'd pass something like that off quickly. No sense holding stolen Federation data for too long. The buyer was supposed to show up tomorrow, but no one stuck to schedules in Fallen Comet. "I'm on my way," Corey replied. He flipped a credit chip to the bartender, a silent courtesy. Then he melted into the crowds with practiced ease, weaving between off-worlders and locals, ignoring barkers trying to lure him into gambling dens, and ignoring the sultry calls from half-cybernetic dancers. This was business. Bay 27 lay at the outer ring where docking slips allowed small freighters to latch onto the Comet's hull. It was a precarious zone. Magnetic clamps and shield generators prevented the vacuum of space from swallowing them whole. Tashi, a short teen with bright eyes and an old pilot's jacket far too large for his wiry frame, awaited him at the corridor entrance. Corey ruffled the kid's hair. "Go keep an eye on the other end, will you?" Tashi nodded and scampered off. Corey approached a figure waiting by the cargo doors, tall, draped in a travel-stained cloak that hid most of their features. The glint of an ocular implant peered out from the hood. "You got it?" The voice was staccato, mechanical. Could have been a human with heavy augmentations or an alien species fluent in standard with a voice modulator. Corey shrugged, flipping open a worn leather pouch to reveal a small data chip. "This is what you paid for. Federation Star Map 33 Delta. Full coordinates plus navigational hazards. Verified, authentic. If you want it, we finalize the rest of my payment." Two orange fingers extended from the cloak, passing him a credit stick. Corey slotted it into his portable reader. The figure had paid precisely the sum they agreed upon. Crisp and clean, no attempt at double-cross, no discount request. A surprisingly smooth deal. "Pleasure doing business," Corey said with a grin, handing over the data chip. The figure snatched it and disappeared without further conversation. Corey found it suspiciously painless. Usually in Fallen Comet, you expected at least a threat or a bribe. But hey, a successful deal was better than a shootout. He pocketed the credits and turned to leave. Moments later, an ominous vibe itched at the back of his neck, telling him he was being watched. He brushed it off, ignoring the sense of unease. With business concluded, he had other errands, like verifying the authenticity of rumored ion thrusters he might flip on the black market. Then he'd check if there were any leads on new smuggling runs. Another day, another scuttle for cash in this floating underworld. Yet fate had other plans. By the next time he looked at his holowatch, after dealing with a questionable arms merchant, the day was nearly done. He wandered back to the bar, half expecting to see Tashi. Instead, he found a group of robed alien travelers. Their robes dyed in swirling colors reminiscent of stardust. They were chatting with hushed urgency, peering around as if searching for someone. Their gazes locked onto Corey the moment he stepped into range. He felt a vague tingle of alarm but tried to maintain a neutral expression. One of them approached, a female figure whose golden eyes sparkled under the neon. "We are looking for a man known as Corey," she began, her voice accented with exotic intonations, "who deals in high-value goods. May we speak with him?" He raised an eyebrow. "That would be me. How can I help you?" The group collectively exhaled as if relieved. The woman motioned for him to follow them. "We have something to trade. It is rare, but we must do this carefully." Corey, guided by a blend of curiosity and opportunism, followed them into a side corridor. That was how it all began, how he would soon cross paths with the one who wore the cosmic stone bracelets. Chapter 2. A chance encounter with Morona Girl. Corey had dealt with oddities before. Psychic crystals, black market gene splicers, you name it. Still, there was something about this group that intrigued him. As soon as they stepped into a quieter passage, away from the bar's pounding music, the robed figures huddled in a semicircle around him. His instincts told him to remain on guard. Hidden within those flowing sleeves might be advanced weapons or poison darts. He slipped one hand near his concealed pistol, just in case. "What exactly are we trading here?" The woman with golden eyes hesitated, then gestured to her companions. They parted to reveal a younger figure standing behind them. She wore a similar robe, though simpler in design, and she seemed reluctant to step forward. The older woman introduced her. "This is Morona, daughter of Elder Creon." Morona's eyes were a brilliant shade of gray, almost silver, an unusual color that caught Corey's attention. She looked uncertain, clutching the edges of her robe as if seeking protection. Corey guessed she was in her early 20s by human standards, though with alien species it was often hard to tell. Morona lifted her hands. On each wrist was a band of obsidian-like stone that shimmered with internal flecks of light, like a microcosm of stars swirling within. He'd never seen anything quite like them. "These are the cosmic stone bracelets of our clan," the older woman explained softly. "They hold great significance to our people. We need safe passage off Fallen Comet and enough credits or resources to continue our journey. If you can arrange that, we will offer fair compensation." Corey blinked, intrigued. "And what form of compensation are we talking about?" "We have certain relics, possibly of high value," the woman said. "But most importantly, we have knowledge. Knowledge we can share to help you navigate less reputable corners of the galaxy." Knowledge wasn't always something Corey could trade for immediate profit, but it definitely held its own currency in the underworld. "I might be able to help you," he said carefully. "Transportation can be arranged if the price is right, but you'll need to be more specific about how you'll pay me." Morona spoke then, her voice surprisingly gentle. "I only ask for safe passage to the next system. My people were scattered. We're trying to regroup with our clan. These bracelets," she raised her wrists again, "they're part of my heritage." For a moment, Corey recalled rumors about certain advanced bracelet technology used for mind control or slave tracking. The black market was full of such contraptions. A small alarm bell went off in his head. He scanned the glowing lines on the bracelets. Could these be some advanced device? Could they be hurting her? He remained outwardly calm, but something about her posture made him uneasy. She didn't appear to be in distress, but her hands trembled. Her expression was one of anxious resolve, as though she was trapped in a situation with few good outcomes. Perhaps, he thought, they were forced or inherited. Maybe she was wearing them against her will. The older woman cut into his thoughts. Our clan's vow forbids us to remove these bracelets without a sanctioned ceremony. However, we fear outside threats. Some rumor has spread that these stones contain genetic data crucial to our people's survival. We cannot let them fall into the wrong hands. Corey's mind spun. Genetic data, that spelled big money in certain circles, particularly for those dabbling in gene modification or the creation of specialized warriors. He also knew that powerful syndicates or warlords might pay a fortune for such a resource. This was stepping into dangerous territory. He tried to focus on the immediate ask. You want off the station. That's doable. Transporting alien relics with rumored genetic data? That's a risk. And I'm not a charity. So how do we ensure I get compensated and you get out? Morona's silver eyes flicked downward. We have some small valuables, family heirlooms. We can give you those upon arrival at a neutral port. I can also share certain coordinates where pockets of rare minerals can be found. That might net you more than your usual smuggling runs. Coordinates to rare minerals. That definitely piqued Corey's interest. If accurate, it could mean a fortune. But trust was scarce in Fallen Comet, especially among strangers bearing cosmic bracelets. I could work with that, he said, keeping his tone measured. Though I'll want verification before we jump, and I'll need to know if there's anyone out here, like the Federation or a local crime boss, who's after you. The older woman gave a sharp nod. We suspect the Shadowless Circle is watching us. They are ruthless and extremely influential in this sector. If they learn about these bracelets, about Morona's identity, they may try to seize her. Corey cursed silently under his breath. The Shadowless Circle was rumored to be the boogeyman behind countless black market trades, extortion rackets, and silent assassinations. If they wanted something, they had the resources to get it. He pictured the slender young woman with the cosmic bracelets, the alien clan looking for a safe route, and a cutthroat syndicate lurking in the station's darker corridors. This was definitely complicated, but also potentially lucrative. All right, he said after a long pause. We'll talk details. Tashi, my runner, can help with small errands to gather supplies. I'll need you to stay under the radar. If you want passage on my ship, you follow my instructions. Understood? Morona's gaze lifted. Corey noted relief in her eyes. Understood, she murmured. Thank you. He gestured for them to accompany him to a safer location, one of his hideouts in the labyrinth of compartments beneath the main thoroughfare. Let's keep this quiet. If the Shadowless Circle is indeed snooping, we need a plan that doesn't end with us all shot or worse. As they walked, Corey found himself occasionally glancing at Morona's wrists. Something about those bands triggered a visceral reaction in him. The swirling lights within the stone reminded him of distant galaxies, of wonder and sorrow all at once. He felt a stirring of protective instinct, an odd sensation for a man who prided himself on not getting attached. But he brushed it off, chalking it up to business. She was a client, after all, or soon would be. They reached a metal hatch that slid open after Corey entered a code. A cramped, low-ceilinged space greeted them, a hidden nook where he sometimes stored contraband or laid low when a deal went sour. Dim overhead lighting revealed crates, a small table, and a ragged couch. It wasn't luxurious, but in Fallen Comet, privacy was a prize more valuable than comfort. You can rest here for now, Corey said to the group, though his gaze was on Morona. It's not much, but it's off the grid. We'll figure out the next step soon. Morona offered a small nod, her expression uncertain yet hopeful. Thank you. Truly. He answered with a curt nod. Don't thank me yet. We've only just begun. Let's see if we can keep those bracelets and your freedom out of the Shadowless Circle's clutches. Wanted, if only Corey had known how drastically his life would change from this moment on. If only he had realized that his assumptions about the cosmic bracelets and the nature of Morona's predicament were far from accurate. In the city of deals and illusions, even the best intentions could lead to monumental complications. That night, as neon shadows danced on the deck plates, Corey's mind lingered on the curious glow of Morona's bracelets. Something told him they were more than just relics. Yet he couldn't imagine how drastically their existence and his impulsive misunderstanding would soon intertwine their fates. Continued to Chapter 3 in the next message. You said, okay. ChatGPT said reasoned for 36 seconds below. is the continuation of the long-form narrative begun in chapters 1 and 2. The story expands significantly, aiming for a total length of 9,000 words. As requested, it remains in English and follows scenario number 3, a bustling black market city on a drifting space rock, Fallen Comet, where a misunderstood alien bracelet custom forces a sudden marriage between Corey, the smuggler, and Morona, the adoptive daughter of an alien clan leader. The Shadowless Circle looms as the primary antagonist. The story is divided into chapters for clarity, but is meant to be read as one cohesive work. To maintain continuity, here are chapters 1 and 2 in brief. Chapter 1 recap. Corey, a cunning smuggler and deal broker, lives on Fallen Comet, a ramshackle hub of illicit trade. After concluding a suspiciously smooth transaction with a mysterious buyer, Corey feels he's being watched. Chapter 2 recap. A group of robed aliens request Corey's help transporting Morona, who wears 2 cosmic stone bracelets that hold rumored genetic data crucial to her clan. The group fears the Shadowless Circle might hunt them. Corey agrees to hide them in his secret compartment, lured by the promise of valuable intel and potential profit. Now we continue from that point. Chapter 3, a growing sense of curiosity. Corey exhaled as he closed the hatch to his makeshift hideout. The robed companions, Morona among them, settled into the cramped interior with expressions of guarded relief. A single overhead lamp cast long shadows on the metal walls. The air was stale but private. "All right," he said, his voice echoing slightly in the small space. "We'll figure out how to get you folks off Fallen Comet in one piece. But I'll be frank, this won't be easy if the Shadowless Circle is sniffing around." Morona's eyes drifted across the scattered crates and spare parts. "Thank you for offering us this sanctuary. We've been moving from sector to sector, always a step ahead of those who wish to exploit the bracelets." Corey studied her, caught for a moment by the luminous flecks dancing under the translucent surface of the stone bands. Whatever technology or biological marvel they contained, it was far beyond anything he'd encountered. "I won't pry," he lied, mostly to reassure them, but he couldn't help himself. "I'm just curious, how do those bracelets function? Is there a passcode? A key?" Morona clasped her hands, the bracelets clinking softly. "They're linked to our clan's genetic lineage, attuned to our DNA. As far as I know, removing them requires a special ceremony. Otherwise, they remain fused, impervious to normal tools." He gave a low whistle. "That's advanced. Could fetch a high price on the black market if some unscrupulous buyer found out." The words slipped out before he realized how callous he sounded. Immediately, he raised a hand. "Not that I'm suggesting that route, obviously." Her eyes darkened with a hint of fear. "Yes, that's exactly why we're in danger." The older woman from earlier, Talia, as she introduced herself, spoke up. "In ages past, these bands helped preserve our people's genetic continuity. Legend says they hold the blueprint for entire generations, ensuring our bloodline can endure catastrophes. But in the wrong hands, that same code can be weaponized or exploited." Corey mulled that over. Genetic exploitation was a booming black market trade. Ruthless warlords sought unique DNAs to engineer unstoppable soldiers. Corporate labs paid fortunes for exotic gene sequences. No wonder the Shadowless Circle was interested. "Got it. So you'll want to keep that quiet." Morona nodded. "We appreciate your discretion." He scratched the back of his head. "Well, you can stay here while I gather intel on how to get you off station. But the comet is huge, and eyes are everywhere. I'll need to do this carefully." They murmured agreement. Corey ducked back through the hatch, giving them a moment of privacy. A sense of responsibility weighed on him. He'd had many clients pass through his sphere of influence, but something about Morona and her plight felt personal. Perhaps it was the quiet resolve in her silver eyes. Perhaps it was the swirl of star-like flecks in those bracelets. Whatever the reason, he found himself wanting not just to profit, but to protect. He slipped into the labyrinth of corridors leading to a vantage point above the main concourse. Neon advertisements flickered across makeshift walls. Music from 100 bars merged into a chaotic hum. Vendors hawked illicit goods, from contraband stems to futuristic firearms, while throngs of transients made deals in hushed voices. He found Tashi perched atop a crate, scanning the crowds for potential trouble. The kid hopped down when Corey approached. "How'd the meet go?" Corey gave a half grin. "A new job, potentially big, But keep your ears open for chatter about unusual bracelets or talk about an alien clan. If you hear any mention of the shadowless circle ramping up activity, I want to know immediately. Tashi saluted in a playful manner. Gotcha. I'll do a few rounds. Then he zipped away, nimbly weaving between passers-by. Leaning against a railing, Corey took a moment to watch the swirling sea of criminals, explorers, and refugees below. Fallen Comet was a paradox, simultaneously vibrant and perilous. He usually thrived in the city's unpredictability, but tonight a prickle of tension nagged at him. The shadowless circle, genetic data, priceless alien relics, a young woman whose wide eyes betrayed fear behind a brave face. He resolved to keep them safe, at least until he got them off station. Maybe even beyond that, if needed. He wasn't certain when he'd started caring so deeply, but the flicker of conscience he'd tried to bury for years seemed to be roaring awake. With that in mind, he steeled himself for what lay ahead. Shadows were lengthening across the corridors, and the deeper night in Fallen Comet often brought out the worst in people. If the shadowless circle truly had their sights set on Morona, the real trouble was only beginning. Chapter 4. Tangled Threads of Ambition. Corey's first move was to contact the old acquaintances who specialized in forged travel documents. They needed new identities for Morona and her companions, especially if they planned to slip through station controls or redock with a Federation outpost. The forger, a tech-savvy rodent-like alien named Sib, worked out of a dingy cubicle in the underlevels. Sib barely looked up from a flickering holo terminal when Corey entered. "Name?" he squeaked. "You know who I am," Corey replied, rolling his eyes. With a grunt, Sib turned. All right. Didn't realize it was you. Didn't expect you so soon. You got a big order?" "Potentially. 4 or 5 new IDs." Corey tossed a small credit chit onto the desk. "I can pay half now, half on completion. Gotta be top tier, Sib. Biometric data, gene-coded if possible." The rodent-like forger twitched his nose. "Gene-coded IDs don't come cheap. Whose DNA we talking about?" Corey's voice hardened. "You don't ask that. Just know I need them to pass standard security scans. Maybe even Federation-level scrutiny." Sib tapped the credit chit. "I'll see what I can do. Come back in 2 cycles. But if you want it done that fast, I'll need more than half up front." Corey reluctantly slid another chip across the table. "Fine. Don't cross me on this, Sib. I'm trusting you." Sib's whiskers twitched in annoyance. "You and trust? What a concept. Always a pleasure doing business." Satisfied for the moment, Corey left the cramped cubicle. Next, he needed a route off Fallen Comet that wouldn't trigger suspicion. He made his way to a small docking bay known as the Rendezvous, the place where smaller crafts refueled and resupplied in a hush-hush manner. There he found Yalim, an old pilot friend who sometimes ferried cargo for hush missions. Yalim, a broad-shouldered woman with cropped hair and a mechanical forearm, greeted Corey with a smirk. "You look like you're up to no good as usual." "Maybe a bit more than usual," Corey admitted. "I need a quiet ride out of here in a few days. Might be heading to a neutral port, somewhere Federation laws are loose. You available?" She rubbed her metal fingers together. "Depends on your payment. And the cargo. You know me, I'll ship anything that doesn't breathe or can't pull a weapon on me." Corey hesitated. "This cargo breathes, but they're not trouble. Just folks needing safe passage." Yellum snorted. "That's an extra fee. But yeah, I can do it. Payment up front?" "Half," Corey countered, rolling his eyes at how everyone demanded immediate credits these days. "Fine, let me know your final schedule," Yalim said. "But if they look like trouble, I'm out. I'm not tangling with the big players, especially not—" Her voice cut off. She glanced around the docking bay, suspicious. "Word on the street says the shadowless circle's been sniffing around for something big." "I'm not tangling with them, Corey." He forced a tight grin. "Shouldn't be an issue, if we're careful." But inside he felt a pang of worry. How widespread was the rumor that the shadowless circle wanted these alien travelers? The city's underbelly was abuzz, and information leaked like water through a sieve. Still, he had a plan. Forged documents, a discreet pilot, and a time frame of just a few days. With luck, he'd ferry Morona and her companions away before the circle made a decisive move. He trudged back through the labyrinth, mind racing. As he neared the hatch to his hideout, Corey noticed the distinct hush in the corridor, an unnatural stillness, like the entire station holding its breath. His heart thundered. Slowly he approached, weapon hand at the ready. The hatch was slightly ajar. Someone had tampered with the lock. Damn it, he muttered, bracing to burst inside. He yanked the hatch open, pistol raised. Darkness greeted him. Morona? Talia? Anyone? A faint groan from within. A second later, the overhead lamp flickered on. He glimpsed Talia crumpled near a crate, nursing a bruise on her temple. Two of the other robed companions lay unconscious. Fear clutched at him. He rushed to Talia's side. What happened? They found us, she rasped. Who? Shadowless Circle? She shook her head, wincing. I'm not sure. They wore masks. Demanded the bracelets. Morona refused. Then they grabbed her. Took her. Her voice cracked with grief and anger. They left quickly. Must have had a ship waiting. Corey's pulse hammered. He glanced around the cramped room, seeing scattered belongings, signs of a struggle. Morona was gone. How long ago? Not more than half an hour. He swore under his breath, adrenaline flooding his veins. Stay here. Tend to the others. I'll track her down. A swirl of guilt and fear knotted in his chest. He'd vowed to protect them, and within hours the worst had already happened. But he refused to let that be the end. Not while Morona was in danger. Gritting his teeth, Corey took off into the corridor, mind racing with possibilities. If the kidnappers had taken her to a private bay or a side exit, he might still catch them. He calmed Tashi with urgent instructions to watch for any suspicious craft departing in the last half hour. Desperation fueled him as he sprinted, his lungs burning in the stale station air. He retraced his steps through labyrinthine corridors, scanning for clues or anything that might indicate Morona's captor's route. The city's usual bustle pressed in from all sides, dealers hawking wares, off-worlders stumbling about, but none paid him any mind. Where could they have taken her? If it was the Shadowless Circle, they might hole up in their hidden den, rumored to be in the comet's northern quadrant. But Talia had said they weren't sure. Another possibility, some opportunistic gang recognized the bracelet's value. That might be almost worse. Corey tried to quell the rising panic. He had a lead, a private docking slip known for hush kidnappings and forced transports. He raced in that direction. Upon arrival, he saw a couple of battered containers and a half-lowered ramp from an older cargo vessel. Two men in cheap armor stood guard, eyes scanning for threats. No insignia of the Shadowless Circle was visible, but that didn't mean much. Pressing against the steel beam, Corey steadied his breathing. His pistol thrummed in his hand. Confronting them head-on could end badly, but time was short. If Morona was inside, he couldn't wait for reinforcements. He'd have to do this alone. He crept behind the cargo crates. The guards' idle chatter reached his ears. Boss said we hold here until cargo is secure, one muttered. Hope it's worth the trouble. It better be, the other hissed. That girl's got something special, I hear. Some fancy armbands. Maybe we sell them to the highest bidder. A spike of anger coursed through Corey. They were definitely talking about Morona. Carefully, he braced himself, inhaled. Then he sprang into action. A single well-aimed shot took down the first guard with a stun round. The second guard spun, but Corey fired again, incapacitating him before he could return fire. Hard hammering, Corey scrambled up the cargo ramp. The interior was lit by flickering fluorescent rods. Crates formed narrow aisles. In the back, he heard a scuffle. Someone swearing. He pressed forward, weapon raised. Rounding a corner, he found a wiry man wrestling with Morona, who struggled to break free from his hold. Her hood had been ripped away, revealing fear etched into every line of her face. "Let her go!" Corey shouted. The man swiveled to aim a pulse pistol. Too slow. Corey squeezed the trigger, sending a stun bolt sizzling across the hold. The man crashed backward, dropping his weapon. Morona stumbled away, nearly collapsing. Corey rushed forward to support her, her gaze locked with his, eyes filled with relief and terror. You came," she whispered, trembling. Corey fought the urge to pull her into a protective embrace. Instead, he nodded, scanning for any more threats. "Of course, let's get out of here before more of them show up." He guided her off the ship, mind spinning with 1,000 questions. Who exactly were these thugs? Was it a random gang or a front for the Shadowless Circle? One thing was certain. The comet was no longer safe. He had to expedite the exit plan. As they fled back toward the hideout, Morona clung to him, her wrists bound by battered shreds of rope the kidnappers had tried to use. The cosmic bracelets glimmered faintly, seemingly unharmed. That was a small relief. By the time they reached Talia and the others, Corey could barely contain his fury. "We're leaving as soon as possible," he declared. "I've arranged a pilot. We just need a few days for forged IDs. But after this, maybe we can't wait that long." Morona's eyes flickered with apprehension. "But the documents, without them, the Federation or any other authority might arrest us at the next port." "We'll figure it out," Corey growled. "Better risk arrest than risk another kidnapping attempt here. I'll talk to the forger. Maybe we can pay more to speed up the process." Talia and the others murmured agreement. Exhaustion weighed on everyone, but they had no choice. Fallen Comet was no longer a sanctuary. It was a trap. And Corey realized with mounting clarity that he was now personally invested in Morona's fate. Far beyond the promise of hidden wealth or valuable coordinates, he found himself needing to keep her safe. Neither of them had any inkling of how complicated that promise would become. Nor did Corey suspect how a single impulsive act would soon bind them in a way that went far beyond any typical smuggler-client contract. Chapter 5, A Fatal Misunderstanding. 2 days later, Corey was exhausted. Between bribing Sib to accelerate the forged IDs and scouring the station for signs of further kidnapping attempts, he'd barely slept. Tashi was constantly on the move, relaying rumors of suspicious activity. So far, no direct sign pointed to the shadowless circle, but the entire station seemed abuzz with talk of special alien relics. He decided to move Morona and Talia to a different safe house, one deeper in the comet's spine where gravity plates were more stable and foot traffic was low. The safe house belonged to an old contact who owed him a favor. It was a cramped, windowless module, but at least it was off the usual radar. While Talia prepared a simple meal for their group, Corey lingered near Morona. She stood at a narrow table attempting to calm her frayed nerves. The kidnapping left her shaken, though she tried to mask it. Her wrists were bruised where the rope had chafed skin around those ever-present bracelets. Corey's gaze kept drifting to the bands. He couldn't help suspecting they were more than symbolic jewelry. The memory of her terrified expression when the kidnappers tried to pry them off haunted him. "You okay?" he finally asked, voice gentle. She offered a wan smile. "Better than before. My clan sisters are safe now, thanks to you. I truly owe you. Let's just say we're square once we leave the station alive." He joked quietly, though the attempt at humor fell flat. Something flickered in her eyes, gratitude, mixed with uncertainty. "Corey, these bracelets. I never actually explained the full extent, did I? You said they're crucial to your lineage, that removing them requires a ceremony." He shrugged. "I won't pretend I understand the details." A distant clang from the corridor made them both flinch, but it was only Talia setting down a metal tray. Morona lowered her voice. "They're called Irata stones. Legend says each bracelet is keyed to a potential mate. The cutting of them without a proper ritual can be interpreted as a forced claim. In our culture, that can be akin to initiating a marriage contract." Corey's brows furrowed. "A marriage contract? That's an intense custom." She nodded. "Intense, yes. But it ensures that no one can forcibly remove them to exploit our DNA. If someone does remove them, it triggers a legal or religious union. Usually it prevents foreign invaders from wanting to tamper. But the concept has become twisted over generations. Now many see them as just bracelets of power. They forget the cultural context." He offered a half smile. "Well, no worries, I'm not about to cut them off." That said, part of him wondered if they were hurting her. If he tried to help remove them, would that be a kindness or an affront? The idea lingered at the back of his mind. Morona exhaled, shoulders dropping in relief. "Thank you." Before they could continue, Talia cleared her throat. "Dinner's ready," she said, beckoning them over. "Eat quickly, then we'll pack up to move again." Corey grabbed a tin plate, half pretending his appetite was intact. But the mention of forced marriage rattled him, stirring a new level of caution. He reminded himself, don't do anything impulsive around those bracelets. A few hours later, Tashi arrived with urgent news, face pale. They found our old safe house. Bunch of armed goons swarmed in, tossing the place. They were definitely searching for that girl with special bands. You gotta get out, now. Corey's stomach lurched. We've got to go. Let's do it. They hurried to gather supplies, forging a path through the labyrinthine corridors again. The plan was to meet Yalim at her ship in Hangar 12. Sib's forgeries were done enough for a plausible story. If they could board quietly, they'd be off station within the hour. Relief mingled with dread. This was the do-or-die moment. But as they navigated the congested walkways, weaving between travelers and suspicious watchers, tension rippled in the air. Corey kept Morona close, occasionally checking behind them. Talia led the other robed companions. Tashi scouted a few paces ahead, small frame blending into the crowd. At the final junction leading to Hangar 12, they encountered a blockade of heavily armed mercenaries. 4 men, each brandishing a pulse rifle, wearing mismatched armor that bore a jagged insignia, a black circle severed by a slash. The shadowless circle. So they'd come out into the open. The lead mercenary snapped his weapon up. You there! Stop! Pedestrians scattered, fleeing the line of fire. Talia and her companions pressed back, fear twisting their features. Corey's hand darted to his pistol, but the mercenaries had them pinned. We're taking the girl, the lead man spat. Hand her over and the rest of you can go. Resist, and we'll see how many of you make it out alive. Corey's jaw clenched. He could see the corridor branching left to a service tunnel. Maybe they could break through, but the moment they moved, those pulse rifles would tear them apart. Morona stepped forward, trembling yet defiant. Why do you want me? The merc laughed. Boss says you carry something unique. We deliver you. We get paid. Not happening, Corey hissed. In a swift motion, he fired his pistol at the overhead panel. Sparks rained down. The sudden flash and sizzle caused the mercenaries to flinch. Tashi seized the distraction, tossing a small smoke grenade. It erupted in a billow of thick vapor. Run, Corey shouted, grabbing Morona's hand. Under cover of smoke, they dashed into the side tunnel. Talia and the others followed, adrenaline surging as pulse rounds whizzed past. The station's bowels twisted in a labyrinth. They ducked behind metal struts, narrowly avoiding more gunfire. The short corridor opened into an old cargo bay strewn with rusting crates. Heart pounding, Corey scanned for an escape route. A single overhead catwalk led to a narrow passage that might loop them toward Hangar 12 from above. Up there, he gestured. Morona nodded, breath ragged. With Tashi's help, they scrambled onto the catwalk. Talia and her companions followed, though fear weighted their every step. Beneath them, footsteps and curses echoed as the mercenaries scoured the cargo bay. The group inched along the catwalk until they reached a ladder. Corey prayed it would lead somewhere safer. Each rung clanged underfoot, the corridor below echoing with the mercs' voices. But so far, they remained undiscovered in the haze. At the top, a hatch squealed open. They emerged into an auxiliary corridor near the hangars. Relief was short-lived. 2 more mercenaries stood guard, scanning for intruders. Surging adrenaline left Corey with limited choices. He aimed, forced to shoot. 2 stun bolts later, the guards collapsed. By then, alarms blared in the distance, station sirens wailing about weapons discharge. We're close, Corey said, voice taut. Hangar 12 is just around that corner. They raced forward. But just as they rounded the corner, a figure in sleek black robes blocked their path. Pale eyes glinted from beneath a hood. He had an air of command that set him apart from the hired thugs. A single gesture from him, and a wave of pressurized energy rippled outward, knocking half of them off their feet. Corey slammed into a wall, vision swimming. The robed man advanced with eerie poise. Talia gasped. Shadowless circles enforcer! Morona staggered, ears ringing. She raised her arms defensively. The man's gaze zeroed in on the bracelets. Those belong to us, he intoned, voice eerily calm. One way or another. He approached her, ignoring Talia's desperate attempts to shield Morona. A cold swirl of power emanated from him. Whether it was advanced tech or actual psychic ability, Corey couldn't tell. He grit his teeth and tried to raise his pistol, but the man casually flicked a hand. Another invisible wave of force slapped Corey down. Morona's face contorted with terror. The man reached for her wrists, sliding slender metal prongs from beneath his robes. He pressed them to the bands, as if to pry them off. She screamed, resisting. The prongs sizzled, sending arcs of energy. The stone bands glowed erratically, reacting to the forced tampering. A memory sparked in Corey's mind. Morona's warning about forcibly removing the bracelets. Something about a forced claim, akin to marriage. But right now, it looked more like it could kill her. Without thinking, Corey scrambled up, adrenaline overriding the pain in his limbs. He lunged forward, brandishing a small multi-tool from his belt. With a desperate slash, he cut into the closest band. The advanced blade screeched, biting through the stone's outer layer with a burst of sparks. Morona gasped, eyes wide. A pulse of strange energy radiated from the damaged bracelet, flinging the robed enforcer backward. The corridor lights flickered, a surge of electromagnetic discharge ripping through the air. Corey had barely a second to process what he'd done. The bracelet cracked under his blade, severed from Morona's wrist. Freed from its fuse, it clattered to the floor. The enforcer staggered to his feet, stunned by the shockwave. Morona stared at Corey with something akin to horror. You cut it off, she whispered, voice shaking. He gulped. I couldn't let him. Her face went pale. She raised her other wrist, the second bracelet still intact. You don't understand. You just triggered the vow. The old law that says, you forcibly removed my Erota stone. That means, you claimed me. His heart pounded. Claimed her? The idea rattled him. Before he could react further, Tashi shouted from behind, We gotta go! More of them are coming! The robed enforcer was recovering fast, fury blazing in his pale eyes. Without hesitation, Corey grabbed Morona's hand, her now bracelet-free wrist, and dragged her past the stunned enforcer. Talia and the others sprinted close behind. They lunged into Hangar 12, where Yalim's freighter sat with engines idling. Hurry, Yalim yelled from the loading ramp, eyes wide at the commotion. Corey and the group scrambled aboard, slamming the hatch shut. Seconds later, the engines roared and the ship lifted off. Pulse rounds ricocheted off the hull from below, but Yalim gunned the thrusters, forcing a swift takeoff. The docking clamps popped free, and they shot into open space, leaving Fallen Comet behind. Inside, panic and confusion reigned. Talia cradled the unconscious clan member who'd taken a heavy blow. Tashi slumped against a wall, panting. Morona stood near Corey, both breathless. One bracelet was still on her left wrist. The other lay in two pieces on the corridor floor, cracks spidering across its shimmering surface. A swirl of emotions flickered across Morona's face. Relief to have escaped, grief for the destroyed relic, and a deep, unsettled tension toward Corey. You saved me, she whispered. But you also destroyed something sacred. It's not a minor act in my culture. Corey's mind spun, balancing the adrenaline come down with the shock of what he'd just done. I'm sorry, I had no choice. She swallowed hard, tears brimming. I know, and that's precisely the problem. In the rumble of the ship's engines, he sensed the weight of a cosmic misunderstanding settling between them. He had shattered her sacred bracelet to protect her life, only to inadvertently seal them both in a fate neither had intended. In all his years skirting trouble, Corey had never faced consequences quite like this. Chapter 6, An Unwanted Bond. When the ship stabilized in low warp, Yalim called everyone to the central hold for a debrief. She was clearly rattled. What the hell was that, Corey? You said your passengers were just refugees. Now you're telling me they're being hunted by a top syndicate operative? That's not what I signed up for. Corey rubbed the back of his neck. I know, it got complicated. Morona, still reeling from the near capture and the destroyed bracelet, stepped forward. We are sorry for any danger we brought, but they want me because of my clan's heritage. We would never have involved you if we had any other choice. Yalim studied Morona's earnest face and sighed. Fine, but next time maybe mention pursued by unstoppable criminals when you hire me, yeah? Talia bowed her head. We appreciate your help, pilot. We will do what we can to compensate you. A tense silence followed. Then Yalim jerked her chin at Corey. We'll be approaching the neutral port in 2 days. In the meantime, I'm doubling my fee, hazard pay. Deal, Corey muttered, unable to muster an argument. Once Yalim stormed off to the cockpit, Talia addressed the group. We must find a safe haven, perhaps an outlying colony. The important thing is protecting Morona, especially now that one bracelet is gone. Her voice faltered, sorrow etched in her lined face. That was an heirloom dating back centuries. Morona's gaze fell to the fractured stone at Corey's feet. She bent, lifting the remnants. Tiny flecks still glowed, but the structure was irreparably damaged. So many generations carried these bands, she whispered, tears threatening. And now, Corey swallowed. I'm sorry. She stood slowly, meeting his eyes. I know you meant to help, but in our tradition, forcibly cutting the errata stone, that act is recognized as an immediate vow. In simpler terms, it's considered a marriage claim. Her voice trembled with conflicting emotions, shock, confusion, frustration. He felt all color drain from his face. Marriage? That's not exactly something either of us intended. Talia chimed in, voice solemn. We never wanted this. But tradition is specific. If someone outside the clan cuts the sacred stone off the wearer, it symbolizes overriding the rightful process. The only remedy to preserve Morona's honor is for you two to formalize a union, or she remains in permanent disgrace according to clan law. Corey stared at them in disbelief. There must be a workaround, some legal clause, or we just ignore the tradition. A pained expression crossed Talia's face. If we had our elder council, perhaps, but our people are scattered, our home colony destroyed. Morona's father, my brother, Elder Creon, is gone. The old ways remain the only guidance we have left. Morona clasped her single remaining bracelet, tears sliding down her cheeks. I don't expect you to marry me. We barely know each other. But if we don't fulfill the vow, I'm marked as an outcast by my own clan's rules. The entire significance of the errata stones is that they cannot be casually destroyed. Corey's head spun, adrenaline flaring again. Are you telling me there's literally no other solution? Talia inhaled slowly, steeling herself. We can attempt a severance ceremony, but that requires the other stone to remain intact, and an official recognized by the clan. Even then, the standard protocol is to proceed with the marriage or else face condemnation. A silence descended. Tashi, for once, had no wisecracks. The other clan members stood awkwardly, grieving the loss of the relic and burdened by the ramifications. Finally, Corey exhaled shakily. So if I go through with this so-called union, does that solve everything? The shame, the tradition? Morona's eyes flickered with both relief and dread. In principle, yes, but I wouldn't hold you to it if you can't accept it. I know it's a lot. It's not just a piece of paper. In my culture, a marriage vow, it's binding in ways I can't fully explain, especially if the vow was forced. The air felt thick with tension, embarrassment, and sorrow. This was hardly the scenario Corey had imagined for his life. A roguish smuggler forced into a cosmic marriage because he tried to protect an alien woman from a crime syndicate. But the haunted look in Morona's eyes gnawed at his conscience. He inhaled, forced calm. We'll figure this out, he said, voice subdued. For now, let's worry about the shadowless circle. We'll make sure you're safe, find a place to hide you, and then talk about what to do with this vow. Morona nodded silently. Talia put a reassuring hand on her shoulder, though her own face was etched with grief. The group dispersed, the atmosphere heavy. Corey retreated to a cramped sleeping bunk in the freighter's rear. He tossed himself onto the bed, mind churning. He'd faced life-threatening deals, double crosses, bounty hunters, yet he'd never felt this sense of moral entanglement. Married by a cultural technicality to a woman he barely knew. And yet, the more he learned about her spirit, her loyalty to her clan, the more protective he felt. A fleeting thought drifted through his mind. The vow was accidental, yes, but maybe not entirely unwanted. He dismissed it, scolding himself for romantic foolishness. They were on the run, still in mortal danger. Focus, Corey. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and he needed a clear head. Little did he know, events were about to spiral even further, testing every fiber of his improvised vow and forging a bond that would transcend the accident that triggered it. Chapter 7. Tempest Port and Tenuous Promises. Yalim's freighter, the Celestial Raptor, burst out of hyperspace near a dusty frontier outpost called Tempest Port. Situated on the edge of a minor trade route, Tempest Port was a dusty settlement ringed by advanced sensor satellites that kept watch for pirates or roving corporations. The planet's atmosphere was breathable but gritty with sandstorms, and the local architecture reflected a mashup of Federation prefab units and ramshackle expansions. Corey disembarked with Marona, Talia, Tashi, and the remaining clan members. Yalim lingered by the boarding ramp, hand outstretched expectantly. "My fee," she said bluntly. "I'd prefer not to hang around here too long." Corey nodded, transferring the credits from his portable ledger. The large sum stung, but at least they'd escaped Fallen Comet. "Thanks," he said, trying to sound grateful despite his drained finances. Yalim eyed Marona. "Take care of yourselves. And if you're still hunted by the shadowless circle, keep your heads down. I'm not bailing anyone out next time." With that, she boarded her ship, engines already warming. Minutes later, the celestial raptor roared skyward, leaving them in the swirling dust outside the port's main hub. Talia motioned for the group to huddle. "We can't stay out here. Let's find lodging, then see if there's a route to a safer colony." "Yeah," Corey gestured toward a squat building with a flickering neon sign. "Wayfarer's Rest. Cheap Inn. Let's start there." Inside, the reception area smelled of stale coffee and disinfectant. A tired droid behind the counter scanned them with beady photoreceptors. "Rooms?" it asked mechanically. Corey paid for 2 small units. The group split. Talia's companions shared one room, while Corey, Tashi, and Marona took the other. Privacy was minimal, but at least it gave them a place to regroup. They laid out a plan. Tasha, one of Marona's clan sisters, would scout the local transport schedules. Tashi would gather intel on any sign of the shadowless circle. Corey and Marona would attempt to find a communicator powerful enough to contact any surviving elder of her clan, hoping they could advise on the forced marriage situation. Before splitting up, Talia caught Corey by the arm. Her voice dropped to a murmur. "Marona is deeply torn. She feels a sense of honor toward our tradition, but doesn't wish to bind you unwillingly. She's worried about how you truly feel." He inhaled. "I can't pretend I'm thrilled, but I also can't leave her to deal with the shame or condemnation alone. She matters to me." Talia offered a small, sad smile. "That means more than you realize. Our clan rarely sees outsiders who respect our ways." Corey found Marona waiting by the inn's exit, looking out at the swirling dust. Her posture was tense, as though bracing for another ambush. He approached quietly. "Shall we go? We need to find a decent comm station." She turned, eyes flicking across his face. "Yes, let's." They ventured onto the settlement's main thoroughfare, a wide, dusty street lined with merchant stalls and repurposed cargo containers acting as shops. The planetary sun glowed faintly red through the haze. Corey kept a watchful eye for any suspicious figures. They found a comm kiosk near the Port Authority's dome, but the battered sign read, "Offline. Next maintenance cycle in 24 hours. Frustrated, they asked a local mechanic if there was any alternative. "Maybe up in the watchtower," the mechanic said with a shrug. "They got a stronger antenna, but it's off limits to civilians." Corey snorted. "Always is, thanks anyway." Slipping him a small bribe, he added, "If you hear of anyone asking around about special bracelets or alien travelers, let us know." The mechanic pocketed the credits with a grim nod. "Sure, friend." They wandered further, spotting a second kiosk that appeared somewhat functional. But as they approached, a cloaked figure detached from the shadows, blocking their path. At first glance, Corey tensed, recalling the kidnappers on Fallen Comet. But when the figure lifted their head, a weathered face with kind eyes gazed back. "I can't help but notice your lady's bracelet," the figure said, voice raspy. "Errata stone, if I'm not mistaken. You must be far from home." Marona stiffened, glancing at Corey in alarm. "You know of the errata stones?" The stranger nodded, pulling back their hood to reveal pointed ears and patterned skin. "Possibly from a race allied with Marona's people, or at least familiar with them. I've traveled many worlds. The vow of the errata stone is not unknown to me." Corey's heart pounded. "Listen, we're not looking for trouble. If you have any ill intentions—" The stranger raised a hand. "Peace, friend. I simply noticed the broken edge on the lady's wrist. If it is forcibly cut, that means a vow is in effect, correct?" Marona hesitated. "Yes." A flicker of sympathy crossed the stranger's face. "I see. Then you will need the rite of unity, or a recognized elder's blessing, to dissolve it. Otherwise, your bond remains precarious under clan law. Corey rubbed his forehead. We know. Problem is we have no elder. The stranger studied them. There is one who might help. A wandering mystic from your clan's allied tribes. A spiritual mediator, some call her. Last I heard, she was on the planet Tyrex watch, a few jumps from here. Morona's eyes lit with hope. Really? Then we might find a path to end this vow or confirm it properly? Indeed, the stranger said. But be warned, Tyrex watch has its own dangers. Pirates roam the route, and the Shadowless Circle has been rumored to expand there too. Corey exchanged a glance with Morona, a silent question passing between them. Could they risk it? If it meant freeing her from disgrace or settling the vow properly, it might be worth a try. We're grateful for your guidance, Corey told the stranger. Any idea how we can get there quietly? The stranger nodded toward a battered star map projected on the kiosk screen. There's a local pilot named Tara Quaid who sometimes runs that route. She's known to avoid official channels. But you'll need money. Corey suppressed a groan at the thought of another expensive ride. Money is tight, but we'll manage something. Without further explanation, the stranger stepped aside and melted back into the dusty crowd. Morona turned to Corey, expression conflicted yet determined. This might be our only chance to rectify the vow. We should go. He nodded. We'll talk to Talia and the others. If it means a shot at clarifying things for you, for us, I'm in. Relief softened her features. Thank you. They managed to use the kiosk for a quick local message, letting Talia know where they were. Then they made their way back to the Wayfarer's Rest, sharing the news about Tyrex Watch. Talia listened intently, brow furrowed. If that mystic truly can help, it's worth pursuing, she said. But the journey is risky, and we have so little left in the way of credits. Corey checked his funds. The big payouts from Fallen Comet deals had mostly gone toward bribing forgers, paying Yalim, and dealing with unexpected fiascos. He doubted they could afford a second pilot at standard rates. They might need a new hustle or side deal to fund the trip. He was about to propose an idea, maybe selling some of the clan's heirlooms, though the thought felt distasteful, when Tashi burst into the room, eyes wide. Bad news. Word on the street, the Shadowless Circle offered a bounty on Morona. They're spreading wanted posters across these frontier ports. They want her alive. Payments massive. A collective shudder passed through the group. The net was tightening. Talia's face went pale with worry. Then we must leave quickly, or the entire port will be on the lookout. Corey slammed a fist against the wall in frustration. Damn them, we can't linger. We need a ship tomorrow, if possible. Morona sank onto a stool, silent fear warring with the flicker of renewed hope for a resolution to her vow. Corey knelt beside her, meeting her gaze. We'll find a way. He said quietly, we'll get you to Tyrex Watch and that mystic. I promise. She offered a trembling smile, hands folding over the last remaining bracelet on her wrist. I trust you. He felt a warmth in his chest at those words, even though the gravity of their predicament was crushing. If trust was all they had, he vowed silently, he wouldn't betray it. Chapter 8, A Pirate's Gambit. Early the next morning, Corey and Tashi scoured Tempest Port's dusty marketplace, searching for the pilot, Tara Quaid. Their inquiries led them to a disused hangar on the far side of town, an old structure battered by endless storms, its metal doors squealing in the wind. Inside, they found a lean woman wearing goggles and a tattered flight jacket, tinkering with a stubby yet sturdy-looking starship. A mechanical hand extended from her left sleeve, whirring softly as she tightened a bolt on the engine casing. Quaid, Corey ventured. She turned, removing her goggles. Her face bore a harsh scar across one cheek. Who's asking? Tara Quaid, right? We heard you sometimes take private passengers off record. We need passage to Tyrex Watch. She raised an eyebrow. You from the Federation? Corey shook his head. We have no ties to them. We're just travelers with special circumstances. She grunted. Usually that means trouble, but if you can pay, I'm listening. He glanced at Tashi. The kid retrieved a small bag of credit chips, almost all that remained of their group's funds. We can do half up front, half upon arrival, Corey offered. Tira eyed the bag, lips thinning. Might cover fuel and hazard pay, but barely. Tyrex Watch is a junk route with pirates sniffing about. My risk is high. Corey grimaced. It's all we've got. Maybe we can trade some items. The clan has a few heirlooms, she huffed, setting down her tools. Let's see them. They returned to the inn, where Talia displayed a set of intricately carved figurines made from luminous stone, presumably from their homeworld. Tara studied them with a keen eye, occasionally tapping the material to test durability. Exotic enough. Fine. This plus the credits will do, but if you get me shot at, or if any big syndicate is after you, that's extra. Corey and Tashi exchanged resigned glances. Deal, Corey said heavily. All right, Tara said. I'll prep my ship, the Thunderchild, for departure at dawn. Bring your people and keep it quiet. With that arrangement, they trudged back to their cramped rooms. Talia wore a cautious smile. We have a path forward. Let's pray it's not another trap. Corey nodded, though uncertainty roiled in his gut. The shadowless circle's bounty hung over them like a guillotine. If word reached pirates or unscrupulous settlers in Tempest Port, they could be ambushed any second. Morona sat cross-legged on a bunk, the single bracelet glinting in the room's dim light. At Corey's gentle knock, she beckoned to him to sit. We have passage, I hear? Yeah, Terraquade will take us for a small fortune in credits and valuables. We leave at dawn. Her shoulders sagged in relief. I'm grateful and anxious. This vow, I want to free us both from it. Corey felt a pang. You keep saying free us. Are you sure that's how you feel? She lifted her gaze, silver eyes reflecting sorrow. I don't want you bound to me by accident, but I also don't want to weigh you down. He considered his response carefully. Look, I'm not complaining. I'm just sorry your culture imposes this burden. A small, sad laugh escaped her. It was once a safeguard, ironically, a vow meant to protect. Now it feels like a curse. Corey hesitated, then spoke softly. Well, until we get to that mystic, it is what it is. If we have to go through with some ceremony, I won't abandon you. Surprise and relief flickered across her features. She reached for his hand. Thank you. A moment passed, charged with something deeper than mere obligation. He squeezed her hand gently before rising. Get some rest. I'll keep watch in case the bounty hunters come sniffing around. Morona nodded, letting their fingers slip apart. As he stepped out into the corridor, a swirl of conflicting emotions churned within him. The vow was unintentional, but the feeling stirring in his chest might not be. The next morning, before dawn broke fully across the dusty sky, they gathered at Terraquade's hangar. Talia, Morona, Tashi, and the other clan members boarded the Thunderchild, stowing what little belongings they had left. Tara ran through a quick pre-flight check, mechanical hand dancing across the controls. Strap in, she barked. The storms around here can be rough on takeoff. Within minutes, the ship rumbled skyward, buffeted by swirling winds. Corey sat beside Morona, hands gripping the seat straps. Despite the tension, he felt a glimmer of hope. Tempest Port fell away beneath them, and soon they were out of the planet's atmosphere, punching into the emptiness of space. Tara plotted the hyperlane route to Tyrex Watch. 2 jumps, she announced. We'll make a short stop to refuel at a way station, then continue. Corey gave a curt nod, checking his surroundings. Everyone looked on edge. Talia clutched a seat, eyes closed as she muttered a quiet prayer. Morona stared at the swirling starfield beyond the viewport, lost in thought. They made the first jump without incident, the ship's hyperdrive humming as they entered the swirling tunnel of FTL travel. Corey tried to relax, but memories of the last fiasco, armed mercenaries, kidnappings, kept him wary. An hour later, they dropped out near a small way station orbiting a gas giant. Tara guided the Thunderchild to a refueling dock, exchanging curt words with the station's operator. We'll be quick, she told Corey, releasing the seat harness. Might as well stretch your legs if you want. He conferred with Talia. You and the others stay on board. Safer that way. Tashi and I will check the station for any suspicious activity. Morona nodded in agreement. They stepped onto the station's dock, a cramped, utilitarian structure with flickering overhead lights. Tashi scouted one corridor, Corey the other. A few travelers milled about, freight haulers, a couple of starship technicians. Nothing obviously threatening. But as Corey turned a corner, he spotted a wanted holo poster flicker to life on a display screen. Wanted. Morona, 50,000 credits, alive. Below, a poorly rendered image of her face hovered, along with mention of an illicit relic. His blood ran cold. The bounty was real and had already reached this outpost. He hurried back to the Thunderchild, heart pounding. Tashi caught up, brow knitted. I saw the poster too. This is bad. Inside the ship, Corey pulled Tira aside. We need to leave, now. The bounty's posted here. It's only a matter of time before someone tries to collect. Tira nodded grimly and relayed orders to the station staff. Within minutes, the fuel lines retracted and she fired up the engines. The Thunderchild disengaged, drifting free from the station's dock. Corey exhaled in relief as they accelerated away. But his relief was short-lived. A voice crackled over the comm. Unknown vessel, this is the asteroid ship, Dreadnought's Claw. Heave to and prepare to be boarded. We have reason to believe you harbor wanted fugitives. Tira cursed under her breath, scanning sensors. Damn it, we have a pirate cruiser inbound. Coordinates bearing 035. They're powering weapons. Corey's chest tightened. Pirates saw the bounty. They're coming for Morona. Alarms blared as the cruiser locked on. Tira engaged thrust, weaving the Thunderchild away. Strap in, this is gonna be rough. Pulse lasers slashed through the void, forcing the freighter to jink and roll. Tira gritted her teeth, skillfully evading the worst hits. But the cruiser boasted heavier cannons, and the small gap in speed wasn't enough for a clean getaway. Can't outrun them in normal space, Tira growled. I'll spool up the hyperdrive. We jump early or we die. She diverted power from shields to the jump drive. The Thunderchild rattled under a barrage of laser fire. Talia and the others huddled in terror, praying the hull held. A shrill beep indicated the jump drive was ready. Punch it, Corey yelled. Tira slammed the controls. The starfield elongated with a sudden lurch. A final blast from the pirate cruiser skimmed their aft plating, but then the swirling tunnel of hyperspace enveloped them. Everyone collapsed in their seats, gasping. Tira exhaled. We'll drop out near Tyrex Watch. The route's not precise, but better than being boarded by pirates. Corey glanced at Morona, relief mingling with dread. Her eyes were squeezed shut, relief rolling off her in trembling waves. He gently placed a hand on her shoulder. You okay? She managed a nod. Yes, just shaken. She opened her eyes, meeting his gaze. Thank you for not giving up on me. On us. He swallowed, an unspoken tension filling the small gap between them. Then Talia cleared her throat. We're all grateful. Tira stood from the pilot's seat, patting the console with her mechanical hand. Hyperjump is stable. We'll be at Tyrex Watch in a few hours. Let's just hope the coordinates are good. If we're off, we might appear near an asteroid belt or something worse. The group exchanged uneasy looks, yet there was no turning back. The vow, the bounty, the swirling uncertainties all converged on their next destination, Tyrex Watch, and hopefully the mystic who could set Morona and Corey free from the cosmic misunderstanding that bound them. Chapter 9. The Right of Decision. Emerging from hyperspace, the Thunderchild found itself near a grim planet wreathed in swirling clouds. Tyrex Watch was known for its jagged, mountainous terrain and hidden enclaves. Sensors picked up a settlement perched on a plateau above roiling mists, likely the location of the rumored mystic. Tara set them down in a clearing of black rock. Here's the drop. My part of the deal is done. She gave Corey a pointed look. I'll wait a few days, but if the local pirates or the Shadowless Circle shows up, I'm leaving. Understood, Corey replied. He and Talia led the group onto the rocky surface, the air bracing and thin. Morona wrapped her cloak tighter, eyes scanning the barren horizon. They trekked toward the settlement, following a rocky path. The environment felt oddly quiet, no bustling markets, just scattered huts and looming stone formations. Wisps of cloud drifted through chasms, giving the place an ethereal, lonely air. At the settlement's edge, a solitary figure emerged, an elder woman with silver-white hair braided down her back. Her skin bore faint markings reminiscent of Morona's clan. She eyed the newcomers with guarded curiosity. You seek the mystic? The woman asked in a soft but firm voice. Morona stepped forward. Yes, we were told of a spiritual mediator who might help us with a broken Errata stone vow. The woman's gaze landed on Morona's wrist, noting the single band and the missing second. Ah, I see. Come with me. They followed her to a modest shrine carved into the base of the cliff. Soft torchlight illuminated a small chamber adorned with tapestries depicting star patterns. A faint incense fragrance hung in the air. At the center stood a raised stone dais. "I am Celera," the woman said, "though some call me the mystic of Tyrex Watch. I have walked among many clans, aiding in matters of heritage and vows." Her eyes met Morona's. "Show me what remains of your other Errata stone." Morona produced the fragments she carried, offering them reverently. Celera studied them with a mix of sorrow and respect. "Broken forcibly, and now you two are bound by the vow." She turned to Corey. "Are you the one who cut the stone?" He nodded uneasily. "Yes, but it was to save her life. I didn't realize what it meant." Just Celera's gaze flickered between them. Intent matters little in the eyes of the ancient custom. The vow stands. Yet I sense that neither of you truly wishes to be chained by misunderstanding. Morona's voice trembled. "We came here hoping you could sever or guide us to fulfill it properly, without shame or regret." Celera nodded gravely. "There is a ritual known as the rite of decision. It grants the forcibly bound parties a choice, either to formalize the union, embracing it fully in the jam, or to dissolve it entirely, allowing each to walk free. But it requires sincerity and acceptance of the risk." Corey's mind whirled. "Risk? What kind of risk?" Celera placed the broken stone pieces on the dais. "The vow anchors itself to the life force of the pair. In the rite, you must each offer truth from your hearts. If either is false or is uncertain, the energies unleashed can harm you." This was designed to ensure no forced union could be sanctified under false pretenses. Morona swallowed. "What happens if we pass the rite but choose to dissolve the bond?" "Then the vow ends, and you are no longer bound by clan law," Celera explained. "But the Errata stone cannot be restored, so you will never again wear the symbol of your lineage. You forfeit your claim to any heritage or potential leadership." Morona nodded, eyes brimming with complicated emotions. Her clan was scattered, her father gone, yet those stones were still central to her identity. Celera turned to Talia. "You stand as her kin. Will you bear witness?" Talia stepped forward, voice trembling. "Yes, I will." Celera then faced Corey. "And you? If you choose to be free, you must confess your motives openly. If you wish to remain united, you must do so without deceit. Understand?" He exhaled shakily. "I do." A hush fell over the chamber. Celera gestured for Corey and Morona to step onto the dais, the cold stone pressed against their feet. Talia and the others formed a small circle around them. Celera lit a series of candles, chanting softly in a language Corey didn't recognize. A faint energy shimmered over the dais. Morona's hand trembled in his. He caught her gaze. Behind the fear, he saw warmth, trust. Celera placed the shards of the destroyed bracelet between them. A swirl of faint star-like motes rose, dancing around their joined hands. "In the rite of decision," Celera intoned, "the vow's binding energy is confronted. If your hearts align in truth, you may choose union or freedom. Speak now, each of you. Why did you undertake this vow?" Morona's voice trembled, but remained steady. I never intended to force anyone. The vow came from desperation. But in the time since, I have grown to respect and perhaps love the man who saved me. I do not wish to trap him if he does not share my feelings." A gentle glow pulsed around her. Celera nodded, then turned to Corey. He swallowed, aware of everyone's eyes on him, the energy prickling his skin. "I cut the bracelet because I wanted to protect Morona. It wasn't about claiming her." He paused, heart racing, "But I also realized I care about her, deeply. Not just as a client or a friend, but as someone who's changed my life. Yet I don't want her stuck with me if it's not mutual." A warm surge of light enveloped both of them. Celera's expression softened. Truth spoken, from both sides. Morona's breath hitched, her silver eyes locked onto Corey's. Celera continued, voice reverberating. "Now in this final step, you must choose. Will you seal the vow and accept each other as bonded partners under clan law, or dissolve it, freeing each soul from the Errata Stone's claim?" Corey's heart thundered. The memories of their perilous journey and the quiet moments of connection flooded his mind. He remembered her wide eyes trusting him in the face of danger, her unwavering grace despite tragedy. If he walked away now, would it truly be freedom, or just another form of running? Morona spoke first, tears shining. I choose to remain. If you'll have me. His chest constricted. A single tear slid down her cheek. He knew she'd let him go if he wanted. But deep in his core, he realized that all the smuggling, the deals, the loneliness, none of it held a candle to the way her presence lit up his life. He squeezed her hand. I choose to stay with you. A burst of radiant energy swirled around them, the shards of the broken stone catching the glow. Everyone stepped back in awe as a wave of warmth pulsed outward. Celera smiled gently, chanting in the old tongue. The vow they'd stumbled into was now transformed into a genuine bond. As the light subsided, Morona and Corey found themselves standing closer than ever, hands entwined. Celera's voice was low with reverence. It is done. The vow stands, but now by choice rather than accident. Talia shed quiet tears of joy. Tashi gave a little whoop, while the other clan members looked on with relief. Even the air in the chamber seemed lighter. Corey felt a curious sense of calm. He gazed into Morona's eyes, seeing hope mirrored there. She swallowed, whispering, "Thank you." He leaned forward, resting his forehead against hers. "Thank you for letting me in." In that tender moment, it seemed nothing could shatter the peace they'd found. But looming beyond the chamber walls, the shadowless circle's threats, and the rest of a galaxy that never stopped hungering for power, awaited them. Chapter 10. A resolve forged in starlight, news of their vow and the potent genealogical secret within Morona's lone remaining bracelet would likely travel fast. Celera, bowing graciously, gave them one final warning. The vow's power means your bond is recognized by your clan's traditions, but it also paints a target on you. The circle will not abandon their hunt. Corey tightened his grip on Morona's hand. We'll face them together. Perhaps now, we have a new reason to fight. Talia approached, tears drying on her cheeks. Morona, you have your rightful place as a recognized heir, yet we have no homeland to inherit. We must decide our future carefully. Morona nodded. First, we help our clan rebuild, and we stop the shadowless circle from exploiting anyone else's heritage. Corey felt a surge of determination. We have some allies left in the galaxy. We can start by spreading word about the circle's crimes. Maybe rally other scattered clans or travelers who've been wronged. Talia's face lit with a glimmer of hope. Yes, we can gather them at the remains of our old colony or find a new world to settle. Celera placed a gentle hand on Morona's shoulder. Your path is your own now. Let the vow strengthen you both. With respectful farewells, they left the shrine. Outside, dusk was falling on Tyrex's watch, the sky awash with violet clouds. Terraquade had waited, albeit impatiently, near the Thunderchild. When she saw the group approaching, her eyebrows rose. Well, you all look different. Did you find what you came for? Corey exchanged a meaningful glance with Morona. We did, he said simply. They boarded the Thunderchild, hearts lighter. Talia's clan members hovered around Morona, offering quiet congratulations. Tashi elbowed Corey, a mischievous grin on his face. So, you married an alien princess or something? Corey nudged him back, smirking. Something like that, kid. Tira cleared her throat from the cockpit. I assume while we're heading where? Morona looked at Talia, then turned to Corey. Wherever we can gather our people and stand against the circle. He nodded. We might need to rally others, smugglers, outcasts, anyone who's been under their thumb. Tira arched an eyebrow. Sounds like a revolution, not just a ride. Morona's silver eyes shone with quiet resolve. If that's what it takes. Tira chuckled. All right, I'll get you to a safe waypoint first. That's the limit of our deal. After that, you're on your own. Despite the uncertain horizon, a new sense of unity bound them. As the Thunderchild lifted off from Tyrex's watch, Corey stared out the viewport, an arm around Morona's shoulders. The vow was real, no longer a forced mistake, but a choice they'd made to face the galaxy together. Their future might hold relentless pursuit, fierce battles, or heartbreak. But for the first time in Corey's life, he wasn't alone. He glanced at Morona's single bracelet, shimmering softly in the cabin lights, and felt a calm sense of belonging. Whatever comes next, he murmured, we'll handle it. Together. Morona laid her head gently on his shoulder. Yes, together. And so they departed, drifting into the starlit expanse that promised both danger and hope. In the hush of a spaceship carrying fugitives turned allies, A forced vow had become a rightful bond, a love born of cosmic misunderstanding but sealed by the unwavering determination to protect each other's destiny.